Approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Have y'all had a chance to read those?
Yep.
Questions?
I, make the motion they
Corrections?
approve as presented.
Okay.
Second.
All right, the, minutes are approved as presented, and we will go on to, what's that?
Oh, nothing, I was talking about.
City of Springfield, special election. Okay. So, the first thing I have here is this will be in our notice of election, and it has to do with the absentee ballots and the canvassing dates. I've set us up to count, and it'll be in that notice, the date. I've set us up to count all week, so starting on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday. Just simply because we don't know how many absentee ballots we'll have. Kim already has 100 that she knows of for this election. Becky is running her numbers today. But this way we're prepared. We don't have to come back and sign one. And it'll give us an opportunity to bring in some of our canvassers on different days to go over how we're going to canvass the ballots for the general election. And it may be that we get them all canvassed the first day and then we aren't doing them the next day. We'll just post notice that there are no more absentee ballots to count.
That's good.
The other thing, and I was talking with Sydney about this as well, counting absentee ballots is public. It's for the public, so we have to invite the public to view as well. Sydney will be able to basically just set up and we just will live stream from this room the entire time we're counting.
So people don't have to come.
Well, and we won't ask them to come just simply because if we are canvassing and we have 8 people in here, we've maxed out the room. So it will be for viewing only, but I'll work with IT and with Sydney to publicly stream that the entire time that we're in here. So
That's great.
So that is not reflected in the notice, but once I get the meeting times reflected, I will put that on the county's website, so that they know where to go to do that. So I'll update the county's website.
All right, now I've got a question about that. I have not watched any of these live streams, obviously. Is this a wide thing, so you don't have to move the camera or attend to it in a way?
Right, this is capturing the whole room.
Okay, so as long as people stay on this side of it, then they're being seen as part of that live stream. Right. Okay, thank you.
And when we're doing it, like, whenever you're counting or whatever, we can put it in the very far corner where it captures everything.
Okay.
Kind of like if they were sitting in a chair in the corner of the room watching it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
So,
Have you guys watched it live stream? I mean, obviously.
I haven't.
Are the live streams available after it's finished? Okay, so they can be viewed, just not live.
Well, you can watch it live or live.
Well, I mean, for us, it would be a little hard to watch it live.
Right. And after this meeting, I can show you real quick.
Okay, all right.
One of these meetings looks like.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, so on that, the absentee ballot canvassers, I don't want to jump ahead or anything here, but I have thought a little bit about November and just how much are we ramping up our absentee ballot canvassers and how much is Becky ramping up her folks in terms of hires and designated, poll workers who will be canvassing absentee ballots. I mean, twice, 2-fold, 3-fold.
So we will start to look at ramping up ours. A lot of my supervisors who've gotten back with me, most of my supervisors are willing to work, but then they are going to have smaller crews. So we're going to have to do some consolidation with our polling locations and look at some things in regards to that. A lot of them have also volunteered If they are not comfortable working the polls, they will feel comfortable working the absentee ballot. So I have had several poll workers who have said, listen, I'm not comfortable going to the polls on election day, but I am comfortable coming in and helping with the canvassing of the absentee ballots. So we are looking at that as we're proceeding with finding out how many poll workers we have. I'm also getting a list of those who are willing to help us with canvassing. We always have plenty of people who are willing to work early vote. We will transition some of those into canvassers. So the canvassers I'm not as concerned with, except for election day. And then that's the day when my poll workers would be at the polling location. So that one we will have to work at. In Becky's office, she ran the numbers the other day, and Jamie, it would take her 2 months, just 8 hours to stuff 10,000 absentee ballots, and that's just getting them pre-prepared. So we are starting to look at that. One suggestion I made to Jamie was, for this August election, let us stuff ballots while we're waiting at the polling location. I mean, stuff the envelopes, with the pre-stuff in them, while our poll workers are kind of sitting there waiting for voters to come in, we can be helping. So we are looking at time frames, how long it will take us to do each of the tasks, and I know that Becky is looking at that as well. One thing that Becky mentioned to me, and this will be for the commission and for the county clerk to discuss, is maybe not actually having early voting in her office, because she will be inundated with absentee ballot requests up to that Monday, and then they will be trying to fulfill those and then processing the ones that come in. So she is highly considering not having early voting in her office. The 6-foot distancing is also a problem in her office as well. As long as we match the hours downstairs exactly, which we do, she has the ability to not have her office open. So we have been having these discussions about how does she do it on the front end, and how are we gonna handle it on the back end. One request that we had made to the governor's office a while back was about polling locations and using schools, letting the school be a holiday. That would give us access to teachers to use as poll workers, but also absentee ballot canvassers. So I think that's definitely something to pursue in regards to making that request to the governor's office, to see if it would be declared a holiday, if we could use teachers as poll workers. I know in Oklahoma, with their primary that they just had, the teachers union put out a request to teachers across the state, would you please be willing to sign up to be poll workers? So I think that's a great source for us. Some of our best poll workers are retired school teachers. And so I think that's definitely an avenue for us to pursue as well.
What's the reception on that? It's state government.
They're definitely thinking about it. I mean, we've had some really great conversations with the governor's office, and we have another meeting scheduled with the governor's office as well, with Andreas. And so they're listening to the things that we are requesting, and so, yeah, so I think that would definitely be worth continuing to pursue for us.
I mean, that's great. That we have the communication. I think it's a fantastic idea. I mean, that would free up all sorts of poll workers. If we were able to use schools, up gymnasiums, we'd have all the space in the world. I mean, it'd be great for this election. So, I mean, I support you asking them again about it, because the sooner we know the answer to that, the better, because then we can train folks and prepare and scout out locations and be prepared for it. On the absentee vote, Becky's office front, I mean, we can talk about that, but that makes sense to me. She's gonna be slammed with absentee ballots, right? Yeah.
earlier that you can start the stuffing process, the better.
Yeah.
I
She
agree.
already is. Just poor Jamie is just surrounded by envelopes and
Wow.
paper and just getting as much as she can pre-prepare, she is. So, yes.
Well,
Good.
you know, the consent of the commission here, I would suggest that if we have any staff that can help early on,
Mhm.
it'd be prudent to consider
Do
that.
it now.
We've
Yeah.
made that offer, and we will continue to,
Okay.
when she feels that she needs it. We have
Yeah.
made that offer, for her, any assistance that, obviously, that she needs,
Yeah.
we're there for her. So,
Okay.
yeah, she just, you know, once she tells us, yes, bring me people, we'll be able to do that, so.
Very good.
Okay, any other comments on that? Notice of election.
So, the notice of election also, not only is it the absentee part, but we will count in room 115 as well.
Okay.
I had tried to get us the quorum courtroom, but they actually have a finance and budget committee meeting that night. We will live stream it to make it accessible to the public, as well. And I had it starting at 6:30, just because absentees, we don't know, getting the live stream up, getting us all situated the way we need to be. I just felt like bringing us in at 6:30 would be, appropriate for this election. And will give us a chance to, you know, see if there's any other items that we might need to discuss for the COVID-19 reasons. This also reflects, this notice, the 4 polling locations that we have open: Elm Dental, First Church of the Nazarene, Oak Grove, and Springdale Rodeo Community Center. This election is unique in the fact that the county judge actually appoints the polling locations. So I have reflected that part of the law there, and then on the notice, I have included the judge's signature, approving basically what we have submitted. He has already signed the notice, not the one in your packet, but the
Oh,
real
here.
one that you guys will sign.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to, make a change under election days voting. It's not
Oh,
February.
shoot, it is, I will change that and get that to,
Okay,
yes.
but
it is.
his signature is on the back page,
Yes.
so that's no
Yes.
problem.
What happens when you copy?
I know, that's
Yeah.
a copy and paste, and it's easy to do that.
Mhm.
But,
So, yeah.
okay, so 6:30 on election night is when we're just gonna start,
Yes,
okay?
we'll be in room 115.
Okay. All right, well, we need to sign this. We can more or less do that on the way out if you guys don't have any other changes, rather than pass it around, because, well, you guys can sign on the back page right now.
And I'll make that correction.
Along with the judge.
Okay. Is that just the door sort of
Mhm.
vibrating when somebody comes in? Okay. Anything else on the notice of election?
No, looks good to me.
All right.
Poll worker.
Notice.
So for the poll worker notice, this same thing, it actually, the judge appoints 2 poll workers, the city council appoints 3 poll workers. I submitted the names of the poll workers to both the county judge and to the city council of Springdale for their approval. And also, I've added in there too, that part, but also the part that if it's unanimous decision, that these would be the electors. That allows the election commission to go back and say unanimously, this is who we selected. If for some reason someone else couldn't work, we can come back and appoint a poll worker if we need to.
Up to how close to the election?
So it's 15 days up to the election, so.
Okay.
We sign it early because Becky's deadline to post is 15 days before early vote starts, but ours is later, so we just combine it all together. This won't be posted until, July 15th.
Oh, okay. Oh, and that gives people 10 days to,
Then that gives people 10 days to make an objection to any of the poll workers posted. The City Council of Springdale will vote on these names on Tuesday.
oh, that's right.
They have to also pass a resolution with these as well, and I've included a copy of their resolution.
All right,
And then there's the notice, the real one with the judge's signature on it as well.
right, well, you guys, if we don't have any objections, we can go, well, we can go ahead and sign it.
So basically, they're the same crews. The only difference is I took, St. Joseph's crew and I've moved them to Rodeo. Most of Rodeo's crew, I don't know is going to work, and I've lost my supervisor at Rodeo as well.
no.
So Tura is working for the census, so.
Lost your supervisor,
Oh.
At Rodeo, they pay $25 an hour. I can't pay that.
I did that, in 1970, and it was good pay.
Yeah, so I think so she's working for the census this year.
Wow.
What happens if we get under the 15-day deadline and a bunch of poll workers call and say that they're unable to work on the election?
So, we would have to still hold the election regardless
Sure.
if we don't have poll workers. We would just,
How do we do it, though? You know, with poll workers?
Declare an emergency?
Do we have the ability to do that and then appoint poll workers under this statute?
under this statute where it gives us the,
Good.
Okay, that is a good question.
Okay. Thank you.
What you do, text her.
No, she's watching us.
Oh, she's watching, okay, I forgot. We would not be able to consolidate polling locations, correct? We would still have to have one in each ward.
So we would still need to have one in each ward, but, there's also the part of the election law that allows you to consolidate in case of an emergency. And the governor gave that ability during that was for that particular election for the,
They already signed this, right?
for the runoff election. The governor gave the ability to consolidate polling locations if need be. There's already a part of the statute that allows for closure of polling places in the case of emergency. Let's say a tornado.
Right,
I mean,
tornado.
you could have a tornado come through or a
Yeah.
flood or something that would cause you to have to close that polling location. We could either look to open an alternative location, or in this case, we have plenty of poll workers. We could try and find other poll workers to open, at least have one open in each ward.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
so there is some, emergency clauses in the law. We just have to post at the old polling,
right.
at the old polling location that it's not open, and let them know where they need to go. So, yeah,
Okay.
so.
Other questions? Okay, poll worker notice is signed, COVID supplies needed.
Okay, so for this election, we're responsible for getting all of the supplies. The stylist, so the state, as far as I know, has not made a decision on they're ordering stylists for us, but I don't know who they've ordered them from, or if they're, or where they're
right,
ordering
yeah.
them from. I'm gonna request that, the commission give me permission to go ahead and order, I know 6,000 is overkill, but we will use them for the general election, to go ahead and order 6,000 of the I voted stylists that I have samples of, even if they cost a little bit more, because I'm not ordering the big bulk price, and I think I can get them for around 10 cents a piece, but still, for this election and to have them for August, I think that price difference is worth it, especially since we're not having to buy them for the general election. If the commission would go ahead and give me permission to order, stylists for the August election.
Is this a billable cost?
Yes, to the city.
Okay.
Any of them that we use would be a billable cost, and then any that we don't use, we can seek reimbursement from the state for the general election.
Okay.
So, yes. So we can definitely bill it to the cities, as a cost of the election.
So you need a motion to approve your purchase.
Yes, to go ahead and make that.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, go for it. Okay.
I've already ordered the plexiglass shields, and so you've seen the example of that. And that was, I ordered 17 of them, so that was $1,000.77. I don't know that we can bill that to the state since we're using them, but we can submit and see.
I mean, we're gonna use the same
Well,
exact ones for
Right.
November.
Yeah.
And especially if we don't get the quantity that we need from the state,
Yeah.
we definitely could bill the state for those, so I've already had those ordered.
17.
So I ordered 4 for each polling location, and I ordered 1 for Becky's office.
Okay.
Becky will have early vote in her office for this, and the way she'll set up her early vote in that conference room she has, we'll set up a station exactly like this. So I wanted to make sure that she had what she needed as well. So there were 4 for
Sure.
each site, and then, 1 for Becky's office.
Okay.
So, yes.
These are not billable, correct? They would
not be billable,
city.
no, they would not be billable to the city because we would use them again, and they're not like,
Exclusively for?
yeah,
Okay.
yes.
All right, questions? Move on, face masks.
So face masks, we can order offline, just a simple little flute, like, for like $15, $20 to get 50 of them. We can order a couple of boxes for those, through the Amazon fulfillment. So I definitely want to go ahead and order those for our poll workers to have for the August election. And I'd also like to look for the shields as well. I wish I had bought more of these when I was in Sam's the other day, because these were $5 for 4 of them. If I had known, I would have bought more.
Call Sam's and ask them if they've got a
They
way to.
don't, I may call, I may see if they do, but anyway, so something like this, I think would be good, and so I'll try and source, we really only need, I think, 20 of them, 21 of them for the, we only have 4 polling locations open. So I'll see if I can go ahead and source at least 25 of these for our supervisors and poll workers to have to, the one thing about the face mask that concerns me just a tiny bit is being able to understand the poll worker as they're asking the questions. And so.
It's like going through a drive-through. What would you like to order? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so we'll have
very
to,
good.
Be just aware of that, that could create something.
Is there any reason we couldn't post, I don't know what you have posted right there, but, you know, please, what does it say?
It says, show proof photo ID, do not hand to poll worker, I'll put do not hand ID to poll worker, state your name, address, and date of birth, and use provided stylist as they name.
Yeah, okay. So maybe, and we could make that even more clear, you know, you could put numbers next to it. That's step 1, step 2, the statute specifically outlines it like that. That may help folks be able to see that too. And
The problem, I think, is being able to understand, and I would suggest that there would be no reason, since you do have a plastic screen, no reason for somebody not to be able to lower their mask to state clearly what their name, address, and date of birth are.
Well, this would be for the poll worker. We'll get to the voter in a second.
Okay,
So this would be
okay.
the poll worker. If the poll
Gotcha.
worker is asking the question, they may need to.
Yeah,
To do that, to ask the question,
Gotcha.
just because if they can't hear. And sometimes it's loud.
that's right. There's a din.
In the sites and everything like that, so we'll have to just be aware of that in the different locations.
Sure.
The acoustics are not always great, like in the rodeo, it's very, there's a
Loud.
lot.
It's a din,
loud
there's
and
a
it's-
background din.
Yeah.
Acoustical problem.
I mean, I think it depends on the people too,
Right,
Sure.
you know?
so, but I will order, sufficient face mask and shields for the poll workers, and with them being so inexpensive, we would be able to have a few for voters, if a voter asks for some. We wouldn't be able to provide for every voter that comes in, but we would be able to, you know, have a few if they ask. This would be a billable expense to the city. Any that we use for this election that we actually use, we would be able to bill that to the city. So I think it would be worthwhile to spend the money, for the face mask for the poll workers and, the face shield.
I agree. I mean, order whatever you need to be able to provide them to all of the poll workers, and then if we have extras, to provide them to voters. I mean, increasing number of studies are coming out that one way to stop the spread of COVID-19 is to wear a face mask. And it's to stop you from giving it to somebody else, right? I mean, that's how the process works.
That's the key, is that you don't give it to someone.
Yeah, exactly. It's not necessarily to protect you from getting it,
Yeah,
unless it's
no.
an N95 mask or
Yeah,
some other sort of mask, right?
that's what I understand.
Yeah, so I think if we can provide those to all of the poll workers, let's order them for the election. I mean, I'm of the opinion that I believe we should require the poll workers to wear them. Can we require voters to wear them? I'm not gonna say that we can, you know, I can see that's probably a decision that has to be made at the state level, right? You've gotta wear, you know, pants to come in a polling location and vote. You've gotta wear a shirt, you know? What's so hard about putting a face mask on? I don't know. Can we require voters to wear them? You know, probably not, unless the state makes that decision, right? Poll workers are different. Those are our employees. We employ them at the county. We can require folks to wear them. So I'm of the opinion that we should make poll workers wear them during the August election.
Are you making that a motion?
I will make a motion to require our poll workers
Or is that,
to wear a face mask during the August special election.
let's hold off on that, because right now we're just talking about supplies. Maybe that's new business?
Depends on if you guys are, so there's two questions, right? One, are we going to order enough face masks to supply for every single poll worker for the election and have extras in case people lose them and mess them up, whatever? And then there is a second question of, are we gonna require poll workers to wear them? So to me, that's
yeah.
two questions.
Okay.
And clearly, the first question,
We
Paul-
have the supplies.
under this item right here,
Right.
makes logical sense to me to discuss the second question in this context.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the first question.
Sure.
And, which is what you're basically doing. You would like, but you haven't finished because you're still talking about voters and signage.
Okay, so we want to order, I am requesting that we order enough face masks and shields for our poll workers,
Okay.
for the election. And then, because of the way they're packaged, to order a few extra to have for the voters, because if they come 50 a box, I think we should send one box to each side, because we don't want to be handling the masks and separating them out of their boxes and all of that, so then that would give us a few masks, to send to each side. So that would give us maybe 45 extra masks at each site for voters who wanted or requested when they came in, not the face shields, but just the masks themselves. So I had that in there with the voters, but also to reiterate what Max was saying, we cannot require voters to wear a mask. And this was part of our conversation with the governor's office, with the attorney from the governor's office, and then also with the attorney from the State Board of Election Commissioners. And we talked about it in the context of what the city of Fayetteville has done and the fact that they've now passed an ordinance that would require, when you cannot social distance, that would require a mask to be worn in any public location. And so their opinion is that they have a constitutional right to vote, and we have to offer access to voting. Does that outweigh the city ordinance, basically, or any other ordinance that says that someone has to wear a mask to come in and vote? Their opinion is that we can't require them to wear a mask to vote. At this point, there isn't, that accessibility to voting outweighs them wearing a mask to come in and vote.
Well, I think, Jennifer, I understand where you're going with all this. I think that we should provide ample supply of masks for all our staff and have some excess in reserve. If, under a remote condition, a voter requests one, yes, accommodate to the best of your ability. You cannot take the voting public into consideration with the acquisition of masks for many or all, in my opinion. That's the way I look at this. You're dealing with our staff to perform their duties as a staff member at the election point, okay? That's my opinion. So let's get enough masks to do everything we need to do, and then some, because we certainly do not want to run out.
Oh,
Yeah.
if we have some extras, those things are gonna go, people lose them, they break them, I mean, and they're gonna go like that.
Yes.
Yes.
And anything ancillary needed would be based on supply.
Okay, so do you have a number that you would like to order, a face mask, and you need us to approve that?
Yeah, I think it's that, like, at least a box of 50 per location.
Yeah.
If you think more,
I mean, I'd order twice that, we're just gonna have them, it's not, how much is the cost, what did you say a
It was
minute
like
ago?
$14 for a box of 50.
And you're talking about like 4 boxes or something,
Yeah.
5 boxes?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a significant cost, I'd say double it, it's not that, that's still not that many. We're
Right.
talking $100, you know?
Well, get a dozen boxes, and then you got a carryover for the general.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly, okay, so I'm gonna remove my first motion, and I'll make a follow-up motion to approve Jennifer ordering dozen boxes of 50 masks, plus, how many face shields?
Probably 25.
25 face shields.
Yeah, it depends on how they're packaged. I'll
Yeah.
do my best to.
Sure.
For the August election.
Yep, I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, follow-up motion and discussion, I think, is regarding our poll workers, and requiring our poll workers to wear masks. So I've looked at the law, I've seen the issue, we're not talking about voters, that's not our discussion now,
Right.
we're not considering some requirement on that end, but we're talking about our own poll workers, right, and whether to make our poll workers wear masks. I'm of the opinion that we should. Our doctors and nurses wear masks all day, every day, caring for patients, and this is something concrete we can do to curb the spread of COVID-19 inside polling locations. Jennifer mentioned the Fayetteville ordinance a minute ago. That's not outside, that's not in an outside location, that's in indoor locations, right? That's when it's in an indoor location, because the studies show that's where it spreads, is indoors. It's not outside in the air, we're talking about indoors, in a public location, in a polling location. I think we should require poll workers to wear masks during the August election. I will make a motion to that effect. And welcome any discussion about it.
Max, I would suggest we give the poll workers the option to wear it. We can't force them to wear it. There's no authority that we have as commission to force those folks to wear a mask.
Sure we do. We're an employer of poll workers, Bill. As an employer of a business, you're able to require your workers to wear personal protective equipment, whether it's a safety harness if they're up in a bucket truck, or whether it's a mask in a different setting.
I just disagree with you, Max.
If there's
Respectively, I'm not comfortable requiring a poll worker to wear a mask. Now, you can give them the option. They're full-grown adults. It's their choice, in my opinion. What's going on in certain societies around certain cities, there's a lot of question of whether it's even enforceable. What some of these communities and cities have proposed to the public or not necessarily employees of the city or employees in a direct sense is different. We are not, in my opinion, these people are volunteers, and they're not employees of ours in the full, true sense of being an employee.
I mean, they are employees of ours. They get paid, what is it, $10.50, $11 an hour to be there and to work.
But they volunteer to do that, and the legislature stipulated that we pay them.
I appreciate and applaud our poll workers and them volunteering to do that. But at the end of the day, we're also their employer, and that's why we pay them. That's why we have to pay them under statute. And I think if you have some legal authority you'd like to provide me that says we can't require them to wear masks, I will happily review it. You know, with the Fayetteville ordinance, that was never an issue about whether they could. That was, in a sense, the same discussion, if you apply it here, as could we require voters to wear masks? No, we're not talking about that. We're just talking about our own folks. The city could have done that all day long to require their own folks to wear masks on the job, and it's the same situation here. We're talking about our own folks, our own employees. I believe we do have the ability to make them wear masks, and that's something we should do to curb the spread of it in polling locations.
Well, with due respect to the law and your knowledge of it, we do have the ability to provide masks for our poll workers, and they have the choice to wear them or not. We do have the screens, which, and I suppose anybody who's walking around is also capable of deciding for themselves whether or not to wear a mask.
Right. I think the one poll worker that we do want to wear a mask is the one who has that first initial point of contact with the voter. That's the one, that's the poll worker to me who will be in direct contact with the voters coming in. And so that one, I would like to have gloves on and at least a face shield, something, just because they are in direct contact with the voter, but it would give us the opportunity to switch that poll worker out and not have to wear the mask all day. I think that is a concern, is wearing the mask all day. It can become a long day with the mask.
And it restricts your carbon dioxide too.
So,
I mean, there's no studies that show that wearing a mask is less safe.
Actually, there are some that have come out.
Renee, I don't know what you've been reading, but I have not seen any scientific studies that say it's less safe during the spread of COVID-19.
Well, I've
seen not wear a mask.
I've seen conflicting stuff on the CDC site. On the same site, I've seen conflicting reports.
Hey, CDC.
That's why I'm not entirely supportive of it, and I do believe in personal liberty. And my suggestion is the face shields, you're getting enough to provide all of the poll workers if indeed they need them, correct?
Yeah, yes, definitely. And, you know, the person sitting behind this may not,
Right, true.
the face shield, they may just want to wear their own mask or the mask we provided.
Right.
But I may want to think about getting more, because if you do eat lunch and then you may want to trade them out, I don't know, but, so, yeah, we would have enough for every poll worker, that would want to wear them.
I mean, I think we just have a fundamental disagreement. I don't think this is an issue of personal liberty. You have to wear pants, a shirt, you have to show an ID when you go in to vote in a polling location. I mean, there are requirements on voting. I think that we're not talking about this for a voter either. We're talking about for a poll worker, for an employee. You can choose to work for an employer if you want to follow their guidelines, or you can choose not to work for an employer. I don't think that this is a matter of personal liberty. It sounds like to me there are two questions, right?
Okay.
One, even within this context, should we require the poll worker who's providing the stylus and the ballot to wear gloves, a face shield, and a mask? There's no question in my mind that that person should wear a mask. The second question, it appears to me, is should we require all poll workers inside the polling location to wear a mask? I think the answer is yes to both of those things, but I think the first one is even cleaner than the second one. It sounds like, based on our discussion. And, I applaud everything we've done to provide masks for the poll workers. I think that's great. To provide the plexiglass shield, I think that's great.
Well then, are you making a motion?
I made a motion and I didn't hear
You
a
did,
second
didn't
to it.
Yeah, that's
So-
right, you did. Yeah,
If the motion doesn't hear a second, the motion fails.
I
I would make a follow-up motion to require the poll worker handing out, who's in direct contact with the voters,
okay.
to wear a mask and gloves and a face shield, because that's the person in direct contact. There's no plexiglass shield between that poll worker and the voters.
Well, let's talk about that. When you've got your crews, and you know generally the people in those crews, and we clearly trust those people to help us run an election. So, the supervisor will know the people that would be most cautious to be, and number one, to follow the instructions the way they need to be followed for best safety practice. And in that regard, aren't they going to have people do that job that would understand the risk if they did not wear a mask or gloves?
Yeah, I think, so some of the feedback I've gotten from the supervisors is the two people that kind of have more concern because they don't have this would be the person doing the express vote and the person handing the ballot. Those are the two poll workers that have the most exposure to voters and can't keep the 6 feet apart. I think I can solve the 6 feet apart for the express vote by providing better instructions and being able to keep the voters at a distance, but still allow the poll worker, or have the poll workers, they can have the mask as well. And we can keep the 6 feet. It's the person that is handing the stylus and the ballot to the voter. I almost think those poll workers will want to wear the mask, and the gloves, because they're going to be the poll worker that they don't have a choice,
Right.
but to be that close.
But you
the
also
voter.
recognize that they're adults and have made conscious decisions for themselves and the people around them to do certain things or not to do other things, correct?
Yeah.
Well, to infect other people, we're not talking about their health, we're talking about the voter's health who has to come in close contact with that person. The mask is for the voter's protection, not the person who's handing out the equipment.
Are the voters who come in also adults that can be trusted to make decisions for themselves?
Right.
That's why we're doing mail out, say the right, say,
No,
the
absentee
absentee,
voting.
Here's-
the absentee voting.
Here's
For
what I.
people who are not comfortable about coming to the poll location.
Well, look, I think that we all want this election to be a success, and I'm talking about the general more so than the August one now, right?
Right, this is all a preview.
If voters are aware that there is no mask requirement even for poll workers in any of the locations, there is a significant population of voters who will not go to a polling location if masks are not being worn by at least most of the folks in there. And I think that will drive those folks to vote absentee, if that's an option that's available, which it sounds like that it may be available from the governor's office. And that'll increase our absentee voting numbers significantly. And frankly, we've never dealt with numbers of the type we're talking about for absentee voting, and I'm less confident in our ability to handle large numbers of absentee voters than I am our ability to handle large numbers of in-person voting, simply because that's the system that we have set up, and those are the resources and the machines that we have set up to handle it. So I want to do everything we can to encourage people that we're going to have a safe, effective process in each polling location, and that it's safe for voters to come in those locations, because that'll reduce the absentee numbers, that'll allow us to have the ability to spread folks out like we typically do at locations, and if there's no requirement even on the poll worker who's handing out equipment in those locations, that's going to affect the number of people who feel comfortable going and voting there.
Well, let's go ahead, you've got a motion on the table, or on the floor, whatever.
For that one worker.
For that one worker, do I have a second?
Only needs 2 votes to pass. Bill?
I have a suggestion, Max, and I understand where you're coming from, okay? And I have empathy for your motion. But my suggestion would be, is that Jennifer, you and your supervisors can find someone who would be willing to meet your suggestion that they wear a mask at that point in the service side of it, and leave it up to you and the supervisors to make that call. You're gonna select the person that'll do that. Now, we don't need to mandate anything in that regard, in my opinion. Now, that's my opinion about it. It goes along with the first motion that you made, Max. It's a continuation of the same as far as I'm concerned. I think it's urgent enough and significant enough to be addressed. But I think she and the supervisor can address that. And anyone, let me just go back. And I think that there are a significant number of folks who work for you that have the prudence to accept that responsibility. That's my attitude.
Okay, well, we don't have a
You have to
second.
give people an opportunity to show that they have responsibility, period. I mean, in my opinion, mandating stuff, whether it's a federal government, state government, local government, doesn't sit well with me when it infringes on certain rights and privileges.
We're in the middle of a global pandemic.
I understand that, but then how do you stop all of the rioting and the parading and the assembly and molten numbers?
Hey, that's what our nation was founded on, and that's completely separate than this.
Well,
let's, the motion has died without a second, so we need to move on. I think you understand what you can do, and, you know, we'll just leave it there for now. We're only talking about this election. A lot can change between now and November, and we'll have to, and more than likely, have another look at this then. So let's talk signage.
But, Madam Chairman,
Oh, yes.
let me ask Jennifer a question. Do you feel that my suggestion in that arena is reasonable and acceptable to you and your staff? Do you feel comfortable in being able to execute that kind of a request?
Basically, I look at your request as when I go and do the training to talk to them about the poll worker who is the point of contact, that's the poll worker that needs to wear the mask. Because that's the one who, like I said, I can't social distance. You know, like in here, we're social distance, we're all 6 feet apart. Here, I can provide the plexiglass, and that gives that level, you know, that some level of protection there. But when they're face to face and they're actually having to hand them a ballot and hand them, that's the one where we want them to wear a mask. So when we're looking at the poll worker who will be assigned that position, that would be the poll worker we'll assign that position.
And you're comfortable making that a recommendation to those poll workers?
Yes, and the idea will be they'll be able to trade out, and we want them to trade out with the people who feel comfortable doing, because that's asking a lot of the poll worker to be that first point of contact. And so I think the people who I get to do that will be the people who will want to wear a mask, because they're the ones who are stepping up to be willing to be right next to the person who they're handing the ballot to. So,
but that's a recommendation, not a mandate, and you're comfortable doing it as a recommendation.
yeah, and basically I feel like
They'll follow it.
they will, because they're stepping up to be that close person, and I don't anticipate that they would not want to wear a mask.
I mean, the whole time, you know, I think we're all on the same page that whichever people you feel comfortable putting in whichever roles in the polling location has always been at your discretion, and I think that of course continues to stand.
Right.
Whoever's gonna be the best, and I think Bill put it well in, his suggestion to you in light of the motion failing. I mean, that's the best we can do. I think that's good.
That's acceptable.
Okay, let's move on. We spent a lot of time on that signage.
This, I think, some of the wording from the SEC and from the governor's office is, we will need to, well, I guess I'm asking, for the Springdale election, it's not as big of a deal, because Springdale does not require masks to be worn. But do you think it would be acceptable for us to post a sign to the voters saying, masks are not required, but are recommended? So that's something to think about. For Springdale, it's not going to be as big of an issue, because Springdale doesn't mandate that masks be worn, but we will have to think about it in terms of the general election, because any of our polling locations in Fayetteville, in essence, Fayetteville is saying you have to wear a mask indoors, but I don't think we can require voters to wear masks. So we need to think about, how do we want to...
That applies for businesses. The Fayetteville ordinance doesn't apply for polling locations.
It
I don't
would
think.
at the Yvonne Richardson Center if we have it open.
That's a city-owned facility?
It's a public facility.
I would suggest
And the courthouse.
that's a question we need to address closer to the general,
Yeah.
since it really will
Doesn't
not apply.
For the August election?
It
Yeah.
will for the courthouse, for early voting at the courthouse.
Well, I think the courthouse has its own procedures to enter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to wear a mask to enter the courthouse upstairs in the public. I don't think we should try to mess with or change anything about the courthouse's requirements.
All right, cleaning supplies. Or do you have other signage that you want to
No,
talk about?
no, that was, I
Okay.
wanted to ask about because that was one of the things that they had recommended, or that we had talked about
Oh, you
posting,
mean, yeah.
was do we post signs that say masks are not required but are recommended?
I mean, I don't think I would, even if we were talking about, are you talking about ordering them for Springdale?
No, we would just print them ourselves. I'm not talking about ordering signs, but is that something we would want to post on the?
I mean, I don't think that there's any reason to say masks are not required. I would say masks are recommended because we do recommend wearing them, right? The Arkansas Department of Public Health and the governor's office are clear. They recommend wearing masks. I mean, they're supportive of that, even if it's not a requirement, it's a recommendation. They've recommended that the whole time.
I think that's, in my view, that's plenty of guidance, and we don't need to, it's time to let people be adults.
Renee, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. You know, we should be a little more concerned about our community and it spreading within the community and doing everything we can to stop the spread of it. In this part of the state, that's.
I don't think you understand that you're seeming to say, I'm not concerned. I am more concerned that people be allowed to decide things like this for themselves. It's just the philosophy that I have in life. If you want to come without pants, you're welcome to come.
I think we should do everything we can to recommend that people social distance and wear masks. It's just a recommendation. If it's not a requirement, it's a recommendation, but.
Hasn't that already been recommended by the various institutions, the government, the courthouse, other places like that? I just feel like.
We're talking about signs on our polling locations.
I know.
We recommend wearing a mask. I mean, it says that if you come in this public courthouse upstairs, it says sign masks are required. We're not talking about that masks are required. We're talking about posting a sign that says we recommend wearing masks, we recommend social distancing, right?
Well, here at the courthouse, this is where it gets problematic. If you're coming in to vote, can you be required to wear a mask just to get into the courthouse? And does that infringe on their accessibility? Because
I don't think we're talking.
We can't require voters to wear a mask.
I don't think we're talking about the courthouse here. We already decided that we're not gonna change the signage and the requirement. I think we were talking about the four locations.
For locations.
Okay,
And whether you wanted to print a sign.
that too, yes,
I just think that you leave it alone.
okay.
That's my thought. Do we need a motion on that, or do we?
Bill, you wanna post signs that say we recommend wearing a mask and social distancing? I think we should. Renee thinks we shouldn't.
You know, really and truly, Max, in all due respect, I think that goes along with what's already being done. That information and knowledge is widely spread in our communities now. You read about it every day. You turn around on the other half of the equation here. Stores, grocery stores, Walmarts, Harps, all the grocery stores, they've got on there, we recommend you wear a mask when you come in the store. I'm gonna say that 80% of the people wear them. 20% or so don't, maybe higher, that don't. That's a judgment call by the individual.
And this is a judgment call by us to do the same thing that Walmarts are doing, posting the same exact signs that Walmarts post. I think we should follow the minimum standards of posting a sign that we recommend wearing a mask, but.
Okay, well, let's have a motion on that, if that's
So moved.
what you feel strongly. Okay, do I have a second?
I don't have any feeling on it at all. I mean, it's not a big issue with me whatsoever.
No second. Motion fails.
Motion fails. All right, cleaning supplies.
Okay, so, I am trying to track down cleaning supplies, so I've already purchased some just because I, knew I could get a good deal on it. Alcohol is the number one thing we need to clean our voting equipment with. It has to be 70% alcohol. So, there's a company in, Indianapolis, it's just a little tiny self-run company that I was able to order liquid hand sanitizer and alcohol, gallons of liquid hand sanitizer and alcohol from. So I've already ordered that, just because they were running, it was $20 cheaper than what I could get it on Amazon, and then they gave me free shipping on top of that. We will have to make our own spray bottles, and I went ahead and ordered it this way because the state, what they're ordering for us is in gallons as well. So, I found spray bottles at Walmart for $1, so we went and got spray bottles, enough for this election. The only other cleaning supplies I think we'll need, I need like the wipes and different things like that, so I'll start tracking down those when I can find them, but they are hard to find because a lot of places limit. You can only buy one.
Yeah.
You can only buy two.
Sam's gets pretty regular supplies on those.
Are
They
you
do.
talking about a sanitary wipe?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Or just a
Clorox
plain
wipes and stuff like that.
Okay, so you're not talking about just a plain wipe with the alcohol sanitizer?
So we will use, so for the voting equipment, we will put the alcohol in a spray bottle and we'll use like the soft blue, shop towels. We'll
Yeah.
clean after every voter with that. Part of the reason I ordered the liquid hand sanitizer, they were great. Their customer service was awesome because they called me several times to answer questions that I had. The liquid hand sanitizer that they have, we can also put in the spray bottles, and it can be used to clean the door handles, any surfaces and different things like that. So it allows us to do that with it, but still having wipes, the pre-made wipes are handy to have for different things like that. So we'll want to see what we can find in regards to that. So I'll keep looking for those supplies for this. And of course, all of this will be billable, that we use to the city.
Is it safe with ES&S recommendations? I mean, it's not gonna mess up the touchscreen to use alcohol-based.
No, that's what they recommended.
Oh,
They
good.
recommended the 70% alcohol to clean the screens, and that was what they recommended.
And a soft cloth.
And a soft cloth, yeah.
Great.
So,
Okay, anything else on that?
So the bottom line is you know what you need.
yes,
You've partially ordered most of that and you're still searching for the balance.
yeah,
And you'll get that executed.
yes.
And, monetarily, what are you looking at, if you know?
So I spent $171 on the alcohol and hand sanitizer, because I felt like at the polling location, this person needs the spray bottle of alcohol, the express vote operator needs the spray, so we have to spread it out, you can't just have one bottle. So I figure probably another $200 to $300 probably for cleaning supplies for this election. depending
So
on what I
did
can
we
get.
already approve cleaning supply expenses?
Yeah, I thought we did.
Didn't we, Don?
We did,
Yeah, we did,
I
yeah.
think we did.
Okay, so we're cool, you just need to
Just to
execute.
finish getting it,
Cool.
yeah.
Meeting dates, July 15th has to be rescheduled.
So the governor's office can meet with us again, but July 15th at 10 o'clock. I didn't know if we wanted to just meet at 9, and then, it would be a quick meeting, because really the only thing, we've done the poll worker notice, would be the LNA certification. So I don't know if we want to just keep that meeting and just make sure I'm done by 10 o'clock, and that way I can get on the Zoom call with the governor.
I'm fine with making it quick if we need to just
I
get it
think
done.
that's what we
Yeah.
need to do,
Okay.
yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. So that's-
15th.
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and leave it that way then, and we'll just make sure it's a short meeting. August the 13th,
These are just the same, I just went ahead
Oh,
and left them
okay,
on
you
here
put 'em
just
on
so
there.
that you can see for
Okay.
your calendars.
Great.
okay. All right, coordinator and county clerk meeting review from the 17th.
So if you don't mind, I'll combine 3 and 4 together.
Go
Do
for
it.
it.
Okay, so basically, we met with representatives from the Secretary of State's office and the state board that morning, and then the governor's office actually met with us later that afternoon. So this is item number 4 is the list of the things that the state will be providing for Washington County. So if you'll see, for instance, like the hand sanitizer and all of that comes in gallons. The disinfecting cleaning comes in gallons. We're actually going to have to make that, so it's concentrated. So, the one thing they didn't purchase for us is, spray bottles. So I will need to try and spend money on enough spray bottles for all the different components, which could be close to $1,000 or so by the time I get enough for each polling location. And spray bottles are difficult to find too, but I've got a plant supply company that's willing to do.
Plant supply, I hadn't even thought about that.
You just start searching, and you just find little local companies, and I called, and so I think we may be able to get some from this company.
Wow.
But I would need your permission to go ahead and order those when I can find the right quantity of them. The state talked about possibly.
Bill it, right? We bill it to the state too, right?
Yes, it will be a reimbursable expense.
Shall we, do you need that permission now?
Yeah, and I hesitate to put a dollar amount if you'll just. I will spend wisely, but just that one thing is not on this list, and I know we need.
Okay.
Yep, I'll make a motion, give you authority to that effect.
Authorize sufficient funds to make that acquisition.
Purchase sufficient number of spray bottles for polling locations.
Okay, second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Then, so on this list of the things that the state gave us, I have no idea if that's enough hand sanitizer, enough gloves. I mean, it just seems like it's such big quantities of gallons of stuff, so we'll have to look at all of that. The only thing I am going to ask for an increase for is the disposable stylus. That's at $93,000. Not that I necessarily think we'll get 93,000 voters on election day, but when you try and distribute them amongst the polling locations, you need to make sure that you have enough.
Sure.
That you have. So I think I'll request 100,000 of the disposable stylus pens. And then the plexiglass tabletop shields, I think I need to request at least 20 more of those.
Wow.
That gives us 4 at each of our locations. Some of our smaller locations only need 3, but some of our bigger ones might need 4 or 5. So those were the only 2 I was going to ask for an increase.
20 additional shields.
20 additional shields.
And 7,000 additional stylus pens. I'll make a motion to grant you authority to purchase those items.
Second.
Well, I'm gonna ask for the state to purchase them first.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh,
the
you're not
state-
just gonna buy them and reimburse.
Oh, as I understand it then, you're going to resubmit your numbers
Yes.
with these
Got it.
modified quantities.
Request.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, that's
so
even
we don't
better.
really need a motion for that.
Okay.
So,
Okay, I've got a question, and my daughter-in-law is asking me to come get it, the twins. Disposable gloves in pairs, do they, distinguish left or right?
I don't think so.
I don't think,
I think they're interchangeable.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
you could use them
that
on
would have
either
been
one.
my thought,
Yeah.
but it says pairs, and I'm just sort of, well, if they're left or right,
I mean, hopefully not. I can't imagine.
because that's gonna change the amount that we would need, right?
I mean, it'd be, I can't imagine.
Okay.
I bet they
well,
just put it that way. I mean, clarify, I mean,
I'm just sort of mystified by that, so,
I've never seen that type of glove come in pairs.
me neither.
You know, comes in a box and you get a handful.
Yeah, you just pull them out.
so it makes me wonder if they don't come, like when you buy gloves.
you just buy them in a box.
Well, no, like if you bought gloves to do dishes, like the yellow gloves, they come as a pair.
Oh, that's true, they do come as a
So
pair.
maybe these come packaged.
Oh.
That'd be weird.
I don't, that would be what, I mean, that's, I don't
Oh,
know.
That doesn't even sound,
Well, just get it clarified.
sensible, yeah, just clarify, because, yeah, if you're talking about dishwashing gloves,
I don't think there'd be that quantity, but you know what I mean, they're packaged as a pair.
yeah, that seems, okay. We'll go on, if you can make that clarification,
Okay.
I think it would probably be helpful, even in understanding the number that we actually need. Okay, what else on that, anything?
The other thing, I think we're gonna have to source the, microfiber towels that are washable. That is not sufficient, I mean, I don't think we want to reuse towels throughout the day. I think we want to use a towel once and then throw it away. I feel like that, I'm not
Or
sure.
make it in a laundry pile that needs to be washed.
Right, but
Since they are washable.
right. So I think the other thing we'll need to purchase ourselves and seek reimbursement for will be like the towels, cleaning towels, like shop towels, that kind of thing for our polling locations.
Well, hey, and if you can ask them, you can tell them, hey, we'd rather have that. I mean, do it now.
Yeah.
If you're going back to them, why
Sure.
not?
Yeah, increase the number with them.
Yeah.
But, I guess that leads us to another question, which is, who washes the towels? Are you sending these home with the, supervisor?
It's a logistical issue.
It needs to be answered, because I mean,
We got enough else going on.
if they've got to wash them overnight, then,
Yeah,
or we have somebody come and collect them at 4 polling locations.
well, I think too, in the middle of election day, they don't make sense anyway, because you're not gonna run home and do a load of laundry and then bring them back. So
And
I'm not really sure.
This is
What?
for the general too.
Yeah,
So you'd be
for the-
talking about all
Yeah,
of the locations.
exactly,
That's a huge
exactly.
logistical issue. I
Yeah.
think you should tell them, hey, that's gonna be an issue.
I think we would rather have paper
Disposable.
towels.
Yeah.
I know that environmentally, that's probably not the best option, but I'm
Sure.
thinking you want to use a clean towel after every
On
vote.
every, yeah,
I agree.
yeah, yeah, that needs to be, I don't know, cleaned up.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna let you figure these numbers out and send it back to the SOS, and, hopefully they'll give us everything. we-
Accommodate.
Yeah. I mean, they were pretty generous, I felt like, for the most part, on all of this,
Good,
so.
good.
All right, anything else with that?
No, we will have, basically, the conversation we had with the state board and the governor's office focused on this, and then also, is there anything, this was, Andreas asked from the governor's office, is there anything that we want to ask the governor to do for us? He's asking us to put together a list of things, that maybe.
Before the July 15th meeting?
Well, yes, then, and then also if he makes an announcement, you know, what would we want him to do in that announcement? One of the things that we requested was the schools,
Right.
the holiday for the schools. And so definitely that, and then of course, messaging from their offices, you know, public service announcements about how to vote and all of that was
But
one
that's
of
all
the
for
things.
the general.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
all for the general.
Standardization, I mean, just standardization about procedures and processes and signage. I mean, things like that the Secretary of State's office normally provides to us. I think standardization, so counties aren't on their own out here trying to figure some of these things out, and there's more support and recommendation that this is how you should do this, this, and this
Yeah.
from the state level. I think that would be helpful, and I just think the sooner the better on decisions regarding absentee voting, regarding the school holiday. The quicker we can find some of those things out, the better, because then we'll be able to plan for it.
Well, and of course, I don't know how many other counties are having an election between now and November, but I'm sure that's probably what they're thinking about, is focused on November, for their announcements, decision-making, and so forth. So I think that we probably have more of an urgency in terms of a local election than, some of the other counties do, so, but it needs to be, consistent. Okay, other business?
Nope.
Bill? All right, we are adjourned.
All right. Go some more.